Las Meninas was painted in 1656. Velázquez placed himself inside the canvas, palette in hand, looking out at the viewer. On his chest, a red cross, the symbol of the Order of Santiago. The problem is that in 1656, Velázquez wasn't yet a member. He had applied multiple times. The investigation required more than 100 witness depositions confirming he had never painted for money, even though he was technically a royal employee. In 1659, the council rejected his application, doubts about his paternal grandmother. Only with direct intervention from Philip IV and a papal dispensation from Pope Alexander VII was the admission finally approved, in November 1659. Velázquez died 8 months later. The red cross in the painting was added after the original was finished, experts confirmed it. But who painted it? The most widespread theory, Philip IV himself added the cross as a posthumous tribute to the painter who had served his court for decades. The identity of the painter remains unknown. Las Meninas is at the Prado. The cross is still there, and signed. El Greco arrived in Spain in 1577, Greek by birth, trained in Venice and Rome. He was talented enough to be commissioned for the Escorial, Philip II's royal palace monastery, the prestige project of the Spanish crown. In 1580, he received the assignment, paint the martyrdom of Saint Maurice for a wall of the Escorial. He took 3 years. He delivered a monumental work. The king evaluated it and refused. Philip wanted saints that inspired prayer, frontal, imposing figures. El Greco had placed the martyrdom scene in the background, with near-repertorial coldness. The painting was put in storage. El Greco never worked for the crown again. He stayed in Toledo. Without the censorship of royal taste, surrounded by intellectuals and clergy who valued his vision, he developed the style history now recognizes: elongated figures, unreal colors, light that seems to come from within the canvas. The Burial of the Count of Orgaz, painted between 1586 and 1588, is among the greatest works in Western painting. If Philip II had approved the Saint Maurice, El Greco would have spent the rest of his life painting conventional devotional propaganda. José de Ribera was Spanish by birth but spent his entire adult life outside Spain, in Parma, Rome, and Naples, from 1611. He became known as Lo Spagnoletto, the Little Spaniard. In 1631, he received an unusual commission, portrait Magdalena Ventura, a 52-year-old woman from Accumuli who had developed a full beard at 37, after having given birth to 3 children. The Viceroy of Naples had encountered her and wanted the record made. Ribera painted her head-on, with dignity and without caricature. She is nursing a baby. Her husband stands behind her. A Latin inscription inside the canvas itself describes her as a true wonder of nature. It is a portrait, with the same seriousness as any court portrait of the era. Everything we know about Magdalena Ventura as a person comes exclusively from this painting. Francisco de Zurbarán was the preferred painter of the Spanish religious orders in the 17th century. He worked for Franciscans, Dominicans, Mercedarians, and Carmelites. His workshop produced religious paintings in series for export to the American colonies, works dispatched in industrial quantities to the New World. He died in Madrid in 1664. After that, he fell into near total silence for almost 2 centuries. Then came Napoleon. When French troops invaded Spain between 1808 and 1814, they seized works from convents and monasteries. Part of this material reached France. There, Romantic and Realist painters found in Zurbarán's austere spirituality something they recognized as modern: economy of means, dark backgrounds, the almost tactile presence of sacred objects. By the 19th century, Zurbarán had resurged in European taste after nearly 2 centuries of silence. Today he is among the greatest names of the Spanish Baroque. Bartolomé Esteban Murillo was born in Seville in 1617 and died there in 1682. In his lifetime, he was the most famous Spanish painter in Europe, more famous than Velázquez, who was admired mainly at court. Murillo's works were so sought after that the king banned their export. Throughout the 18th century, while Velázquez was virtually unknown outside Spain, Murillo was reproduced, copied, and collected across Europe. He was the reference for Spanish painting. In the 19th century, taste changed. Romanticism and French realism turned against what they called religious sentimentalism. Murillo's street children and celestial virgins were seen as excessively sweet, lacking the tension the new taste demanded. Velázquez, rediscovered, took the throne. Murillo died working. In 1682, at 64, he fell from a scaffold while painting the main altarpiece of the Church of the Capuchins in Cadiz. He returned to Seville severely injured and never recovered. The work remained unfinished, completed later by his disciple Francisco Meneses Osorio. Peter Paul Rubens was Flemish, born in Zeegen, raised in Antwerp, but spent much of his adult life in service to the Spanish crown, which governed the Netherlands. He was the most sought-after painter in Europe in the early 17th century. In August 1628, he arrived in Madrid summoned by Philip IV. His official mission, negotiate peace between Spain and England, as a diplomatic agent for the governor of the Spanish Netherlands. During 8 months at the Alcazar, he painted approximately 40 works, royal portraits, mythological scenes, and copies of the Titians in the royal collection, which he studied one by one. During this period, he worked side by side with Velázquez. The two painters shared space at the Alcazar. Rubens was 51, Velázquez, 29. Researchers later identified a Velázquez painting beneath a Rubens canvas from this visit, the two literally working over the same surface. After Madrid, Rubens traveled to London as Philip IV envoy. In November 1630, the Anglo-Spanish peace treaty was signed. Charles I of England knighted him in 1630. Philip IV of Spain did the same in 1631. He is the only artist of the period to have received knighthood from two rival kings for the same work.